ExxonMobil reaped $56 billion in profits. Those are historic profits for the company in 2022. You may recall we had a gas crisis in 2022. They said they had to raise their prices just to keep the lights on for themselves. And yet, while you were suffering, Exxon made $56 billion in profit. Here's Reuters.
In a year when U.S. gasoline prices surged, ExxonMobil in 2022 took in an astronomical $56 billion in profit, setting not only a company record, but a historic high for the Western oil industry. That amounts to roughly $6.3 million an hour in profit last year. Exxon's results, which the company...
Wait a minute. How much do you make an hour? What would you be willing to do to somebody else for $1 million? Exxon made $163 million an hour. An hour. And now we know what they'd be willing to do for that amount of money. They would be willing to trash the American economy. They would be willing to let you suffer. They'd be willing to let prices go up across the board as a result of the increased cost of transportation. They would be willing to do anything. And they are so poorly regulated that they were allowed to do it, and in fact make $163 million every hour. Got to get a hold of this.
Reported on Tuesday, blew past its prior record of $45.2 billion of profit in 2008. But that was back when oil hit $142 a barrel, 30% higher than last year's average price.
2008 was the last record. You guys remember what was happening in 2008? Particularly in the U.S. and then shortly all around the world? They prey on America. We had the housing crisis kickoff. They made a whole movie about it, The Big Short. I highly recommend you watch it. Very awkward script, but great acting. Anyway, they prey on America when it's weakened, when they can, at any given opportunity. They're like a disease. And if you're in a condition as a country where you are weakened, the oil companies take advantage. Disgusting.
Deep cost cuts during the health crisis helped supercharge Exxon's earnings last year, as did soaring demand for oil as economies reopened. Russia's invasion of Ukraine also contributed to price spikes. Exxon's results may set up another confrontation with the White House. President Joe Biden has repeatedly blasted oil firms for pouring cash into shareholder payouts rather than increasing production to lower prices at the pump. Exxon on Tuesday said spending on new oil and gas projects bounced back last year to $22.7 billion, up 37% from the prior year. It also boasted that its cash flow from operations soared to $76.8 billion in 2022, up from $48.1 billion a year earlier. Exxon's results come ahead of what are expected to be strong earnings from Shell on Thursday and from BP and Total Energies next week.
Because they all robbed us. There were not regulations in place to make it illegal, but they robbed us. They took advantage of weak regulations and an opportunity in the market to take money out of your pockets, and it was money they did not need. Why was it money they didn't need? Because they were already profitable, and they got record profits when they knew it would hurt you. The only reason these companies still exist in the forms they do is culture. Because guess what? We have electric cars. We do not need to rely upon these companies anymore. I mean, technologically, we don't require them. We could all be driving electric cars. Why aren't we? Because there's not been a cheap electric car. That's it. The only reason. Culture. There's not been a demand for a cheap electric car because too many Americans, too many people around the world have been convinced that gasoline's the way to go. The infrastructure exists currently for gasoline vehicles. If you got an electric car and you wanted to go on a road trip, you wouldn't have a guarantee that you could charge it up. We need to start caring about this. Here's a great way to get started. Buy an electric car. If you are able, if you're in the market, I'm not saying go ditch your current car if you weren't already planning on it. But if you are planning on replacing your vehicle, take away power from this scum. Take away some of their power. Buy an electric car. Link in the description. There are tax credits. It's cheaper now for you to buy an electric car. You can get a tax credit for making that purchase. Take advantage of it. Assuming you don't go on frequent road trips and you simply can't afford to rent a gasoline car for such a road trip, by the way, is worthy of consideration in and of itself just for sparing your car the mileage. But moving along, if you're in a position where you can buy one, do it. And if you are, and if you're not in a position, either because you need to be able to drive long distances at the drop of a hat, across the country or whatever. All right, but keep in mind as the years drag on that these companies are not going to change. Exxon's not going to change. BP's not going to change. They're going to keep robbing us at every given opportunity, and we're supporting it. Right now, they affect policy that we make because of their legal bribes that they can do to politicians. Right now, they affect who we go to war with. They affect how we go to war because we are so reliant upon gasoline to make our military function. They simply need to have their power taken away. We can get it started. We get it started by choosing to buy a product which is not reliant on them. Links in description. If you are in a position to get an electric car, do that. It is the moral choice. It is the ethical choice. It is the correct choice. It's also financially the best choice. Cheaper to run them. That simple. Combine that with getting solar panels installed on your home, you can cut out these companies from your wallet entirely. Go for it. Change generally does not happen with one giant stroke in the U.S. It's in increments. It's in constant pressure over time. Put a little pressure on them, shrink their market.